Welcome to the Box Jumper Podcast, Episode 2. I am your host, John St. Amand. I am a CrossFit Level 1 trainer and Catalyst Athletics L1 certified weightlifting coach, a master's athlete, a husband, a dad, a small business owner, and a bunch of other stuff in Bedford, Nova Scotia, Canada. With this podcast, I take an inside look at the fitness community and talk to people about getting healthy, happy, fit, staying active, and independent, and all the other great benefits that make fitness a great part of your life. For this episode, I am joined by two success stories from my home box, Osprey Athletics. They are certainly not the only ones, but I picked Gareth and Amanda to chat with for two simple reasons. First, I think their stories are inspiring and accessible, and I think their willingness to share their experiences just might inspire change in others. They're both masters athletes that are relatively new to CrossFit, both under a year into their journeys. Each decided for their own reasons to recover some of the fitness that they had slowly seen disappear as time went on from their lives over a long period of time. And that is a common story for many of us. What's uncommon is the way that they have both impressively thrown themselves heart and soul into their commitment to fitness. They're seeing results, it excites them, and it makes them work even harder. And the CrossFit community around them at Osprey is enjoying cheering them on. So get ready for this wad for your ears. It's go time in 10 seconds. If you've ever doubted your ability to get fit, my chat with these two should really put your fears to rest. I wanted to talk to you both because you've both had some success in your fitness journey. You've both made huge improvements in the time that I've known you, and you're both well under a year into your CrossFit journey. But I know you started a little bit earlier, so why don't you tell me, how did you get involved in CrossFit in the first place, Gareth?
Okay. I first got involved in CrossFit through my wife. She started it in the fall of 2016 when she first got a Groupon to try her first class. I didn't want to go. I wanted to do something that was easier, cheaper, and I went with Fit for Less. So when she would go to her 6 a.m. class, she would drop me off at the gym and then pick me up afterwards.
And that's one of those 24-hour, just go in, handle it yourself kind of thing. And you're basically paying for access to the equipment.
Yeah, and it was cheap, but at the same time, a month later, I'm already bored out of my mind because it's not like somebody else makes up the programs. I have to come up with what I'm going to do for the workout. So this went on for another couple months, and then around Christmas time, she was trying to convince me to try out CrossFit. So over the Christmas break, we watched a few documentaries and videos about CrossFit on Netflix and YouTube, which is the first time I got a chance to see what the terms clean, jerk, and snatch actually referred to. And it was also the first time I got a chance to hear the names Froning, Fraser, Sigmund's daughter, and David's daughter. So shortly after that, in January, she invited me out to one of the CrossFit classes that she was going to go to, purely as a spectator. And I said, sure, why not? So I went, and that was actually the first time I met you, John, was at that class.
I remember. Yeah.
And everybody was really warm and welcoming, and they're very nice, and they were really gung-ho for CrossFit. I mean, at first I thought they were crazy, but okay, I'll see what it's about. Anyway, this particular class, there was 150 wall balls in that class for some Metcon. And I was looking at it, I'm like, I think I can do that. That doesn't look too bad. Not at all. Come on, 150. I mean, I know these guys are kind of sweating at the end, but they managed to get through it. So after that little delusional episode, I was not discouraged from going to CrossFit. So that's pretty good.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, people. Hannah was worried that I would be. I was like, no, good. Enter the fitness assessment. So Kaylin did my fitness assessment, and I can't remember everything that went on during the assessment, but I do know walking lunges were in there somewhere. And it was the first time I even heard of a walking lunge, let alone doing one. And I think I did maybe 10. Afterwards, I was extremely sore. And the next day, when I had to get up to go to work, I literally called in sick because I could not move. I could not get from one end of the living room to the other. So that was pretty brutal. And I started to wonder, how am I going to be able to do this? Anyway, I finally got better over time, but going to work. But I was walking like a penguin for about 2 weeks after that. Shortly after I had the fitness assessment done, I got an email saying that... kind of a sugar-coated version that I should probably do personal training to sort of get up my fitness level. And I was referred to by somebody else who had done the personal training route, Tony.
All right.
He did that.
That's right. I forgot that he had.
So after speaking with him, I wasn't discouraged as much and was actually looking forward to doing it. So... shortly thereafter, I began the personal training sessions, and the very first session I went to, I think I was there maybe 10 minutes, and I was wrapped around a bucket just puking my guts out. Oh. I soon learned thereafter that it's not a good idea to go to these things on an empty stomach, and having poor nutrition doesn't help either. So ever since then, I've been getting up like at 4:30 in order to have something to eat and let it settle before I go to class. And I was telling my coworkers this, and they were all impressed that I was going to CrossFit. I was more impressed that I got up at 4:30 voluntarily.
So that's your time slot, eh? It's the
6
early
a.m.
morning, get it done.
Get it done.
Yeah. How about you, Amanda? How did you? What was your introduction to CrossFit? How did you decide to take that plunge?
I actually work with Haley Warnica. Mm-hmm. I've worked with her for 2.5 years now. Mm-hmm. So she's into more of the weightlifting now, but she was heavy into CrossFit. So I've listened to her stories for the last few years, but I didn't really understand what it was.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But I turned 39 last August, the heaviest I've ever been. Probably would be clinically depressed had I gone to the doctor. I worked 12-hour shifts on my feet. I could barely make it through 12 hours. My feet hurt, my back hurt, I was exhausted. So something had to change because I was on my way to being diabetic. I'm lucky I don't have back problems, knee problems, joint problems, but they weren't far down the road.
Right.
So I actually started by eating better. Mm-hmm. So I drastically changed my diet not long after my birthday, so by the end of August. And that's when I started thinking about adding fitness because I'm not a self-motivated person. I've always known fit for less, good life, those are not going to work for me. Mm-hmm. I can't show, I've had treadmills, I've had ellipticals, I've had the equipment to work out and I don't.
Right.
And it's boring. So hearing her stories, I kind of was always sort of interested, but never thought I was in a place where I was confident enough to go. Mm-hmm. So I went to a community class, I think it was around mid-September to late September. Mm-hmm. I couldn't walk after that class. Stairs were an issue. But at that point, I was hooked. So I think I went on a Saturday. I think that Monday I was signed up for pre-flight. And I haven't slowed down since. Yeah. And just, I try to explain to people how much better I feel compared to 6-7 months ago. Just physically, I can walk up the stairs and not be out of breath. Yeah. I can walk at a brisk pace and hold a conversation at the same time. Like it's translated into my life in ways that I didn't understand it. It's hard when you're on the other side and you're so out of shape and you're so unhealthy to understand how much better you can feel. Mm. So for me, I keep saying it's only up from here for me. Because I can't imagine ever going back to the way I was. So for me, CrossFit has literally probably been a lifesaver because I was on the way to diabetes. I was on the way to chronic, real health problems. Yeah.
How early were you able to start setting milestone goals for yourself?
I don't set goals in that sense. So for me, because I'm looking at this long term. So I'm looking at things I can sustain long term. So the diet changes I've made, the fitness changes I've made, I want to sustain them. So I'm not giving myself a timeline.
Right.
So I want to be healthy for the rest of my life as much as I can control it. So I've lost 48 pounds since August. Wow. I'm still scaling a lot of stuff, but I'm not cutting back on the reps. I'm not, so those are the goals, but I don't have a timeline.
Right.
So as long as I'm seeing progress, for me, it doesn't matter if it's slow, if it's quick, if it's overnight, because it's not going to be.
Yeah.
I didn't get this way overnight. I've been unhealthy for more of my life than I've been healthy.
Well, and it's healthy to have that attitude too. Like, you're not looking for an overnight change because you recognize that it's, a long-term pattern got you to where you were prior to. So now you're looking at a longer-term solution as well. And that will, probably help it become an easier part of your everyday, recognizing that you're not looking for things to change really drastically in any kind of short-term way.
And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. There's these 21-day diets, 30-day diets, 60 days. They think, well, if I just change my eating habits and exercise for 30 days and I lose 20 pounds, well, what happens at the end of the 30 days? Right? So my thing is, someday I'm going to have grandchildren. Someday, and I work in healthcare. I'm on my feet for the better part of 12 hours. I need my body to function, and I need to function when I'm not at work.
Right.
So for me, this is long term. So as long as I'm seeing progress, in which I am, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
Because I want to be able to sustain it. I don't want to wake up one day and say, well, geez, I didn't lose 50 pounds by this milestone, so I'm a failure. Right. I don't want to get into that negative thought pattern.
Yeah.
So it's just keep trucking along the way I am, I guess. As long as I see progress, I'm happy.
So how long did it take for each of you to start feeling the progress, even before you started seeing any kind of, really objectively observable results, whether it was inches off the waistline, whether it was pounds on the scale? Most people, when they start CrossFit, no matter what fitness level they come in with, feel it before they see it. How was it for each of you?
Well, I felt it first. I didn't see any results right away. And when I felt it, it was just feeling it in terms of the actual classes. When I went there, if I scaled something, I was able to complete it, or I was able to complete it with a higher weight. Or at least when I finished it, I wasn't completely out of breath, thinking that this is completely ridiculous. So just by being able to feel that, knew that I was getting somewhere.
For me, it was more, so for the first probably 2-3 months at least, I had to cut back on the reps. So if something was 30, I did maybe 15 or 20.
Yep.
So all of a sudden one day I noticed that I wasn't scaling back the reps. I might be scaling down the weight or modifying it in some way, but I wasn't scaling back on the reps.
Right.
So it was probably, I did notice a difference, like with the stamina, with just being stronger. But when I really noticed it was probably December, because I just realized one day in class I wasn't cutting back on the reps anymore. That day of the 150 wall balls, I made it through.
Yeah.
It was just, whereas in September, October when I started, there's no way I could barely skip for 5 or 10 seconds, much less do 150 wall balls.
Yeah.
So that for me was just like, wow. And then the open was just, I wish it could just go on forever because you push yourself harder.
Yeah.
Right. So my expectations going in weren't high because I'm relatively new. It was more so I'd have a marker. So next year I can kind of see where I'm at compared to this year. So my only goal was to not be last. Somebody's got to be last. So I just prayed it wasn't me. So, every goal that I set, I met. So they might not have been high for somebody else's standards, but for me, it was like, I met every goal I wanted. So for me, it was just very proud of myself.
You both have kind of a unique perspective on, or a unique point of entry to CrossFit. Like, you both had people that you knew for a long time. Your wife, your coworker, that have been talking to you about it, and so you went in with your eyes perhaps a little bit more open than some. Were there any reservations? Did you have any trepidation about trying CrossFit based on anything that you had heard from sources other than your closest counterparts?
If you're thinking about CrossFit, your best bet, honestly, is just to go to a gym. Because if you Google CrossFit, if you YouTube CrossFit, you're looking at the elite athletes, and that is scary. when you see what the elites can do, you think of, wow, like there's no way I can do that. There's no way I can get to that level.
True.
But 99% of us can't.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing for me was just learning that everything is scalable to what your ability is. There's a scaled exercise. So it's attainable for everybody. If you go to, I noticed it more in the open because I think that's when I started following them. But the CrossFit YouTube page and the CrossFit Instagram, their Facebook page.
Right, all the main
they
site feeds.
highlight more disabled athletes. They hire, people who are not in the best shape. So you can really see how it's attainable for everybody and how it translates. There was, I think, an 80, 90-year-old woman. She was taking CrossFit so that if she fell, she could get up off the floor.
Yeah.
It really, and hearing Dave Castro talk about how CrossFit is for everybody. You see the elites, and that's absolutely amazing to see what they can do. But that's not necessarily what CrossFit is about. CrossFit is for everybody.
Right.
It's attainable for everybody, no matter your health level, your skill level, your physical abilities. There's a way to modify everything. And I think that's what a lot of people don't get. They look at it. I had a lot of people say to me, why are you starting with CrossFit? I was probably 235, 240 pounds when I started CrossFit.
Yeah.
And everybody said, why are you doing that? It's so intense. It's so this, it's so that. But it's really not. It's made to be hard. It's supposed to be hard. If you're not challenging yourself, you're not going to grow.
Some of it is, there's a misperception there too that, starting in CrossFit means that you're automatically doing everything like the elites are doing. I don't quite understand why people make that association, because that's like saying, well, I want to play hockey, therefore I'm going to the NHL tomorrow.
Exactly.
It doesn't work that way.
No.
You play to your ability, you play to your athletic ability, and you find peers that are also similarly working to their athletic ability, and that's what the CrossFit gym environment really is like. And there are people that are on every end of the spectrum within a gym that still don't even approach what some of these elite athletes are able to do. But you do get to see an assortment of different levels of athletic ability and people that have certain skills in the gym that not everyone has, and so you get to see a bit of a mix of everything that not only you're doing now, but things that you'll ultimately be able to do once you put in enough time and you gain the fitness that will get you there. Is there any one skill that at the very beginning of your CrossFit journey you either saw or knew of that you didn't think you would get to that you already have now?
I didn't think I was going to get the overhead snatch.
Right.
It's hard still, but just didn't think I was going to be able to get it. Being able to do it, granted not really heavy, it's impressive enough for me. Even just being able to repeatedly do a squat. That's one thing I had difficulties.
I remember when you first started, squatting with weight was challenging, and now you seem very comfortable with it.
I couldn't even get into a low squat. Like, I literally felt that my knees just wouldn't bend far enough, and I realized not only did I need to kind of stretch out more, but I definitely need to work on that aspect because I didn't have the flexibility. I wasn't there yet. And there's still a lot of aspects that are hard for me just because I'm not flexible like a lot of the other athletes or like a lot of the other people at the gym are. But yeah, I'm continuing to work on them and just, take it day by day. And kind of echoing what Amanda said, I have really no short-term goals. It's just all long-term. Anything that I can't do now, I'm assuming I'm going to be able to do in 6 months. So I think Kate and I decided we're going to be able to do a chest to bar in 6 months' time. Yeah, I got to make sure I can do that in 6 months because I don't want to be the one that can't.
I just want to be able to do a pull-up. For me, it's the cardio. So the lifting part, once I got the technique down, has never been a massive challenge for me. My legs are strong, my arms not so much, but it's a work in progress. But it's the cardio aspect for me, and it still is the most challenging. So it was just anything that was high cardio, anything that really taxed your lungs.
Right.
In the beginning, I really had a challenge with. But a lot of it was kind of mind over matter. I got to a point in the open kind of helped with that because especially 18.1 with the rowing and just the non-stop for 20 minutes. I realized that just because I'm working at breathing doesn't mean I'm going to die, because I'm still breathing, so I'm okay.
Right.
So I had to change my mindset. But anything cardio is honestly the biggest and is still the biggest challenge for me. But it was, I don't know. I think when I started, I was most afraid to hurt myself. Mm-hmm. So once I got past that, I think I was okay.
Yeah.
But the first day I could do a push-up. I mean, I could only do 2. But I couldn't do any before.
Exactly.
So, yeah, no, I don't know. I guess I never went into it with the mindset I can't do this. I just have to work towards it.
Right.
But there's definitely a lot that's still a challenge. And they said chest to bar, but I want to get pull-ups. I think it was 18.3, where everybody got hung up.
Yeah.
On the muscle-ups and for me, pull-ups.
Pull-ups in the scale, yeah.
So I would like to get pull-ups and do a redo, because that is one thing. The only disappointment in the open is that one skill held me back.
Right.
But no, I'm just along for the ride. I'm having fun. I'm not.
Now, even outside, so you raise an interesting element that CrossFit brings. Outside of the physical milestones that you achieve as you're progressing through CrossFit, one of those unsung heroes in that overall progress that people make is the mental strength that they wind up getting, because they're constantly testing themselves.
Yeah.
Have you felt that, experienced that along the way, found yourself, realizing that your mental strength has increased as time has gone on as well?
Well, as Amanda mentioned, 18.1, the cardio one. For me, I could tell that increased just because I was able to get through the actual 20 minute.
That was a 20-minute workout.
Yeah, that was hard.
That was brutal to me. And the fact that I got through to the end, I was impressed with myself. That was the first time I was like, wow, I actually did it. Yeah. And then I realized, a lot of this is definitely a mental game. If I was sitting at Fit for Less, I wouldn't have gone 20 minutes. I would have been like, 4 minutes, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that would have been it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, you definitely, especially with the open, because even though for me, I don't know how you feel, myself, I'm the only one I'm competing against, right? So I just wanted to do the best that I could do and meet the goals that I personally had set for myself.
Right.
So I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, like the whole mental thing, like when I had a treadmill, I'd run on it for a couple minutes, it would get fast, and I'd be like, oh, that's good. And feel great because I ran on the treadmill for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But that was 20 minutes of hard work. And just the satisfaction of knowing that I got through that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't give up. And like the open just forces you to push yourself. Mm-hmm. And that kind of made me realize I can push myself in class harder than I have been.
That's what I've noticed too, that I don't think I pushed myself as hard as I could have in class, because I know I pushed myself to the limits during the open.
Yeah.
And my goal was my goal was not to give up. That was my goal, and not to fall flat on my face.
Yeah.
Well, you achieved both. So
pretty close.
That's pretty good.
I came pretty close to falling flat on my face then.
It's all right. Close is not. You didn't do it.
So does that then translate into added confidence going back into the regular class schedule now that the open is over?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure. I mean, knowing that you can push yourself that much further to get those results. I mean, when it comes to certain movements in the classes that you're like, just can't do them. Like you'll all push a little further just so I can probably do the movement that's less scaled. I want to call it that. I wouldn't call it RX just yet, but I'll call it less scaled. For sure.
What kind of support for your CrossFit journey have you had from, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, people in the gym, the coaches? Like, where do you draw your support so that you can
coaches
keep making progress?
My 6 a.m. crew and all the coaches, yourself included. I mean, that's kind of encouragement that goes a long way. There's people, coworkers at my work that, they always tell me that I'm looking better or doing better. And I'm always encouraging them to join me in a class.
Yeah,
I never seem to get any of them to come along.
I think that I never have going to like Fit for Less, any of those big box gyms. Never feeling comfortable enough, aside from the self-motivation that I don't have, But I find at the CrossFit gym, it's really a unique environment because everybody's striving to do the best that they can do to hit those PRs, to do but they're all supporting you at the same time. There's not that mentality of dragging you down, to build themselves up. I find like it's probably, somebody said once, they do it for the high fives. Everybody's so encouraging. I walked in the most out of shape, and I'm huffing and puffing and everybody's still going and I'm taking 20 minutes to do something everybody else is doing in 10. But they're all still there. They're all still clapping and encouraging. And, so I find that very motivating. Now, my family and friends are still, everybody likes my Facebook posts and everybody says, you're looking great, you're doing great, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think they understand what CrossFit is. So they're supporting my journey, but they don't necessarily understand it, right. I don't think. Yeah. So for me, it comes from the CrossFit gym because if that was not as supportive, I can walk into any class with complete strangers and not feel awkward at all, which I don't think you could say going into, any other style gym. I mean, I could be wrong, but like it's just that welcoming environment, especially for me where, I'm out of shape. I still have 50, 60 pounds to lose. Like I'm not at the end of my journey yet. Not that I'll ever truly be, but I'm still very much in the middle of it.
Right.
But there's no judgment. There's no, nobody's ever given me a look or said anything or been anything other than completely welcoming and encouraging. And like, it's just a really great environment. Yeah. And it's just really, it's almost addictive, And
there's like, everybody there too kind of shares in each other's triumphs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even when Grace did her first muscle up, everybody was cheering her on.
Yeah.
That was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it can be something extreme like that, or it can be just being able to do your first push-up. Everybody's really excited that you're able to do it now.
Yeah, exactly. It's really remarkable because it's just something that everybody in CrossFit seems to have, regardless of whether you're a beginner or you've been doing it for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, it's a supportive culture, isn't it? I mean, it's not. I mean, it's easy to say, well, it's the culture in a specific gym, but I don't. It's certainly in my experience, it's not limited to our gym. I mean. No. The gym that we attend is special in its own right, but the CrossFit community in general, I've found to be supportive across the board. Yeah. I've visited about 20 different gyms now, just for 1 or 2 classes, and the atmosphere is subtly different in certain ways because it takes cues from the personalities of whoever's leading the class and so forth. But the community itself seems to have that really rock hard value of everybody's accepted, everybody's doing the work. Yeah. Everybody's successes should be celebrated regardless of what those successes are because they're not all going to be at the same level. And that's something that I know I gravitated towards when I started. And it does seem to be the thing that's resonating in the people that are coming through the door over the last year and even in the last few months. That we've seen at Osprey anyway, people are really excited. I mean, the fact that we had several athletes sign up for the Open the day after they finished their intro classes. I mean,
yes, I didn't realize that she
really
had just started. I knew she was new. I know there's one for sure.
There were three that all finished the same class with me on the Friday night. They walked next door to watch people during the first heats of the Open, and they did the Open the next day.
Wow.
They were that
I don't think I would have had.
I don't know. Like I almost.
I don't think I would have made through it honestly in the beginning. There's no way I could have done it. But that's impressive.
Well, I almost didn't sign up this year.
Yeah,
in fact, when I did, I did because I wanted the baseline for next year. But overall, if I didn't sign up and known later on that there was like 3 people that signed up the day after they finished the fundamentals, I would have been so embarrassed.
That's impressive, though. Honestly, I don't think I could have done that. I mean, I don't think I could have done it, honestly. But for me, it was that whole, I just wanted to see from this year to next year my progression. Yeah. Next year, I'm hoping, my goal for next year is to be able to RX at least one of them.
Yeah, and that's a good goal to set.
Yeah, like, I just wanted a baseline and I'm glad I did. A lot of people said, do it. And I really doubted it. I signed up, I think, the Thursday before. But yeah, so I'm really happy that I did because it just gives you that confidence to know, you're on the right track. You can get through the workouts because I doubted that.
I did that too.
Yeah. I think I felt like throwing up before each and every one of them, but I survived.
I was like a deer in the headlights beforehand, and then as soon as the clock hit 0, I was okay, and I just went right at the workout.
Well, it's just you kind of go on autopilot, like your brain shuts off because you don't even have to count. There's somebody counting for you. So you just do it.
You almost wish you had a judge for every class.
You just shut your brain off and go.
I tried counting and I lost count, and then I just started over again from 1 and just used that to kind of keep my pace.
Yeah.
But I completely forgot what number I was on.
Yeah. So it was really good, really good.
Was there any one workout when it was announced that you thought, was there any of them give you any second thought? All of them?
All of them. I was freaking out after.
I suppose that is kind of the way, right?
18.3 was the only one for me that I was really like...
Because you knew...
Because I couldn't do pull-ups, and I tried. I think I had... How long was the workout? 14 minutes?
14 minutes.
I think I had 9 something left to try and get it. And I tried, but that's all I could do was try. I knew I wouldn't get it. My arms are just not strong enough yet.
Yeah.
But that was probably the one I was most relaxed for because I knew exactly what I was going to get before I went into it.
Right.
The one with the burpees, what was that, 18.2?
Yeah.
Burpees are a challenge for me, but my only goal with that one, just keep moving.
Right.
Even if, I knew the squats wouldn't be an issue. It was the burpees because they're so taxing physically, but I learned I could do 10 burpees unbroken.
Nice.
So there's that. And I mean, my only goal with that one was to have enough time to get it clean in. And I had what did I finish that? I think I finished it in 10 minutes and something. So great. I had enough time to have a little break and get a few cleans in. And so, I don't know. They were all good.
It was nice, too, to have people there cheering you on. Like just shouting, keep going, or don't stop, just keep moving. Those kind of the things that helps a lot. Just have people say that in the background, you know.
Yeah,
that's one thing I noticed though. Other gyms, so I watch a lot of YouTube, and I found a lot of now these are YouTube, so obviously it's not a wide selection of gyms. But I noticed a lot of gyms don't have people who come and watch people perform the open, so they don't have that kind of cheering squad in the background. At least the videos that I watched.
Some do, some don't. It all depends. It certainly seems like all of the gyms in our immediate area all seem to have their entire community get together in force and support each other doing the workouts.
Which is awesome.
There are some gyms that I've seen in the States that'll actually do like theme days that will be part of their workouts. But these are very, very large affiliates with 300-400 members. So I mean, it's easy for them to scrape up a couple dozen people to be just watching when you're drawing from that number of people. We had 47 registered for the Open this year, which is not quite half the membership, but it's a decent percentage. Yeah. Everybody went at it over the course of 4 days. Most of it was clustered on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but there were other people that had to do it earlier in the day or late on Monday just to be able to squeeze it in. And it's always challenging scheduling for any gym to be able to get that done and still maintain the regular workout schedule too.
Yeah, it was a lot, but it was great that everybody came out and cheered. And what I think I was most impressed about is I heard a lot of people say, well, I can't do a push-up, so like the hand release push-ups. And I said, you might surprise yourself, and they did it.
There were a lot of people that got their first push-ups.
And they really surprised themselves. A few people got their first pull-ups. Yeah.
Again, it's a mental game, right? As soon as you stop telling yourself you can't, you might be able to do something. Yeah.
Well, and sometimes you just don't think you can do it, so you don't try.
Yeah.
Like the day that I discovered I could do 2 push-ups in a row, I think Isaac was teaching, and he said, well, do as many, regular push-ups and then switch to your knees. And I said, well, I don't think I can do any, but we're going to give it a go. And I did 2, and I was like, what was that? But I just assumed I couldn't, so I never tried. Yeah. So I think it's that whole mental game, getting out of your own head and just trying. You might not be able to do it, but you have to, like I want to pull up. I've never really been working towards pull-ups because I never thought I could do it. So now that I want to redo 18.3, I'm going to, my schedule's a little less crazy, start really trying to work at getting a pull-up so that I can redo it. Yeah. But it's definitely a mental game, I think. We need to get out of our own heads sometimes and just try.
Yeah. So you talked about the fact that you changed your nutrition even before you started with CrossFit. So what did you change about your nutrition going in, and did you subsequently wind up having to change it at all to adapt to your new fitness schedule?
Yes and no. I'm not a big breakfast eater, so I go to the 7:15 or 10 o'clock class. So I did have to start eating breakfast because I discovered very quickly without food I cannot make it through a workout.
Yeah.
But I had changed it. I didn't find I had to change it. There's still things I need to change. It's still a work in progress. But like I almost embarrassed to admit how I used to eat. Like I used to get a nice coffee and a muffin on my way to work, and then I'd eat all morning, and I'd have gummy worms and gummy bears were my favorite, and chocolate bars and chips, and it was obscene the amount of junk food I was eating. I was hypoglycemic all over the place, and it was just a mess. So I changed that probably about a month prior, so I just ate more meat, more vegetables, not a lot of fruit because it's high in sugar. Fruit in the morning. But I found I didn't have to change a lot once I started CrossFit. Now I think I could still probably change it a lot. I know I need more protein. There's things that I know I need. But I'm kind of winging it as I go. So I started by basically just cutting out all the crap.
So the changes you had already made are largely fueling your workouts. You just had to adjust the idea that you had to eat before that workout occurred.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
There's foods I still won't eat. But yeah, I found for me, because I was eating fairly well when I started as compared to what I was a month prior, I didn't have to change it a lot other than eating. Now I do try to eat something higher in protein than I would have normally had for breakfast. But other than that, not really. Maybe a few more carbs, just to fuel my workout.
Yeah.
But yeah, no drastic changes when I started. Yeah. But I had made those changes prior.
Well, it's good. I mean,
to starting.
In some respects, it saved you the headache of trying to change a whole bunch of things at the same time. Yeah. Because just adapting your body, reacting to the sudden change in your activity level alone could have wiped you out had you not already cleaned up your diet.
I couldn't have done it the other way, because I was eating such a high carb diet. I was eating an obscene amount of sugar. When I first cut out, because I cut it out almost overnight. So I felt like absolute garbage for the first few weeks because my body was it was not used to not having sugar and carbs and all that garbage. So there's no way I could have gone to the gym at the same time that I did that. Yeah. And eating the way I was, there's no way I would have had the energy to maintain a workout at the gym. So for me, it kind of happened in the proper order. I couldn't have done one without the other. But yeah.
Gareth, have you found that, in order to fuel your workout regimen now, you've had to make any other changes?
Well, I find that I need, like I say, the protein definitely, and sometimes need to throw in some carbs just to have that extra energy to do the workout that's needed. But for me, I used to have junk food. For me, it was like chips and beer, like a lot of times, and pretty much cut all that stuff out. Still have beer, obviously, here and there, but
I was crazy.
I was never a sugar person. I was never a sugar person, so I don't really have a problem with the sugar stuff. Yeah. My biggest feat was I worked too much. Like I would put in a lot of hours. I can put in a 12-hour stretch and not a big deal, right? So, by being a little bit of a workaholic, sort of cut way to had virtually no exercise at all, which is what was killing me. So, when I first started doing CrossFit, that's why everything was so sore for so long.
Yeah. Well, it's a desk job, right? So it's like there's no activity level required within the job.
Yes, but I'd also be doing overtime and that kind of thing. So it just kept going and going and going and going.
Yeah.
The most exercise I got was going from my office to the car, and the car back to the house, and then back upstairs in my office. That sort of thing. So but in terms of actual food, I did have to make some changes to sort of be able to handle the workout, and I definitely had to start eating before the morning workout because I just couldn't handle it. Yeah. You can't really skimp on your diet, and you can't eat, like, say for example, if I'm out like partying with some friends and I have like too many to drink the next morning, if I have to go to CrossFit, be in so much agony. So knowing that ahead of time, if I have CrossFit the next morning, I'm like, okay, I'm going to either cut back or not go to it all like before.
It's one of those things that kind of naturally winds up curbing certain behaviors because you know that it has consequences.
Yeah.
I've certainly found that myself. I've had considerably less beer than I ever thought I would in the space of a year, because it's just I'm constantly thinking about, okay, either I'm coaching or I'm in class the next morning or both. So, one way or the other, it's just gonna be a detriment, and so I wind up having to gauge whether or not it's really worth it.
Yeah, a lot of times.
More often than not, it's nah.
And I find for me, like, there's goals I want to meet. I want to be able to do push-ups and eventually muscle-ups and all this. For me to do them at the weight I'm at, yeah, I probably could eventually, but it's going to be a whole lot easier.
Right. If you're thinner or lighter.
If I'm thinner, if I'm lighter. And I mean, just health-wise, obviously.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's not necessarily about the number on the scale. It's about being functional and healthy as I can be in life.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nicer to buy smaller size clothes, but at the end of the day, I want to be healthy and I want to be strong. Like I said, I work in healthcare. I need my body to function.
Yeah.
So for me, that kind of keeps me on track, because I know, like I slipped up over Christmas and ate my face off for 2 or 3 days and gained a few pounds, which was fine. I'm okay with that. Yeah. It's Christmas. Got right back on track, which is fine. But I know if I continue to do that and I slip off my diet and I start gaining weight back, for me to go to CrossFit and to continue to progress is not going to happen. And if I eat garbage food, I'm not making it through the workout. I'm not going to be able to perform, and my body's just not going to function the way it should function. So for me, it's very motivating. One kind of motivates the other. So CrossFit motivates me to stay on my diet. My diet kind of helps with CrossFit because I feel good.
Yeah.
Like mentally, physically, I'm more alert, I'm less foggy. That's probably the lack of sugar in my diet. But like, it's just, I don't know. I think people don't understand too the mental health factor of just being as unhealthy as I was.
Right.
For me, mentally, 1,000 times better than I was. Like I think I said initially, I probably would have been diagnosed depressed and put on medication 7 months ago. Because I had days where I just didn't want to get out of bed. I'd lay in bed and I thought that's okay. I work on my feet all day. I'm in school. I'm busy.
Yeah.
So, having a day where you're laying in bed all day watching Netflix is acceptable. Well, not really. Everybody needs that downtime.
We sacrifice more than we realize with that negative lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it's a cycle that's hard to break.
Well, and you can't.
So when you do break it, that's why it's addictive, I think, because you realize just what kind of a positive impact it has, and so you start seeing it.
And you start feeling the changes. Yeah.
In every aspect of your life. Like say, like there was days when I was like, oh, I'm going to get up out of the chair. And this is after being CrossFit for a while. So when I got up out of the chair from doing all these squats, I just sprang out of my chair and I realized that was a little too much effort. So I got to stop doing that. But another thing that motivates me with CrossFit is all the effort that I've already put into it. There was a time when I sprained my ankle and I was out for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. And it was hard to get back into it. I found all the movements that I had suddenly thought were a little bit easier because I've been working at it, where I felt like I was like back at day one again, starting them from scratch. So there's that motivation of fear for me that I don't want to stop, because I'm afraid that if I start again, it's going to be brutal just to get back into it.
Yeah.
So, you feel like you're going to lose that progress that you've made.
Yeah, so even over Christmas, I still went to the 6 a.m. classes.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to keep my schedule. I don't want to change my routine.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only time I don't go, I only go Monday to Friday, not normally on the weekends, because I only get every other weekend off.
Right.
So hopefully when I'm done school soon and I get a new job, my CrossFit schedule will be a little more consistent.
Yeah.
But so I've had maybe 3 or 4 days since I started where I've said, you know what, like I can't do it today. Like I need a break. And I feel guilty. And I probably shouldn't, because I don't like that feeling. But like he said, you almost feel like you're going to lose that progress. Like if you miss that class, you're going to be one step back from where you would have been had you gone to the class. So I try not to think that way, because sometimes like I try to just remind myself, like I am busy. Like right now I'm juggling work and clinical at the same time. And so like these are my only 2 days off, today and tomorrow, for the next week.
Yeah.
I'm going to be tired next week, so I'll probably miss Wednesday's class. I need to allow myself that break.
And recovery is part of the workout. Yeah. And I mean, take it from me, I've overdone it on occasion. And there are times when you have to recognize, particularly as you age, I mean, as masters athletes, you have to be even more mindful of the fact that recovery is an important part of making that progress. Yeah. If your body doesn't have enough time to adapt to the workout that you just did, because you work out, that same afternoon for a second time, or you work out first thing in the morning the next day, and you're doing just as heavy, just as many reps, etc. Your body never gets a chance to actually be fruitful with the adaptation that you're asking of it when you do that heavy workout. Having those times off, not excessive time off, but enough time off that you really do get that adaptation within the muscles, within your mind to be able to progress. It's important to make sure that that's part of your overall schedule as well.
That's something I've often thought about. A lot of people that I go to the 6 a.m. class with, they go every day of the week, and plus the master's class on Sunday, so 6 out of 7 days. And whereas I go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then the master's class on Sunday, so I kind of take the Tuesday and Thursday as well as the Saturday off. So for me, I keep thinking, well, maybe I should do more, but then at the same time, I'm also worried that if I overdo it, I could hurt myself and then set myself back even further. So I keep wondering how much time do I really need for recovery, and whether or not I've progressed enough. Is that enough, or do I need to let it? It's
certainly a balance. I mean, part of it depends on programming, and part of it depends on how strictly you adhere to the way that the programming is, to the periodization that's in the programming. If the idea is that, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're supposed to squat and those squats are at 80%, and you do 80% each of those times, well, then that's a significant amount of work. If you never approach that percentage. So, I mean, there are some athletes that just out of a combination of being cautious to make sure that they don't hurt themselves, which is certainly a valid consideration for any athlete, or they're just not the sort to push themselves quite to the same degree as some of us will. They'll stay well south of the prescribed percentage in order to maintain that ability to go every day rather than go 4 or 5 days a week. So it is a bit of a balancing act. Everyone winds up having to apply their own discipline and their own thought process to how much they can really take. And some of it is decisions that you make on your own. Some of it is in talking to your classmates, talking to your coaches, talking to the people that are doing the programming to find out what the intent is in the workload for the week, to understand. Because the workload as it's written is meant to complement that entire schedule, and not everybody goes all those 5 days. So if you pick and choose the days that you go because it suits your schedule, and you happen to hit the days that are heavy and the light days are not part of your schedule, then you're not getting quite the same time off that somebody that's alternating a little bit will get. So you'll have to adjust. So that's certainly a consideration for everybody, particularly on those heavy days.
I've wondered if I've missed things on those 2 days during the week that I should have been doing, or because I feel like, I haven't done snatches in forever. Right. Thank God. But
that's one person who loves snatches.
That's one of the challenges too, is that the programming could have some repetition on it. If you pick Thursdays as your day off, and Thursdays happen to be in a couple weeks in a row when snatches come up, then you may not see snatches for 2 months.
I've had that happen, because I can go Wednesday,
rare.
Thursday 1 week, and Monday, Tuesday, Friday the next. So I've had it happen where I haven't done something for like 2 months.
Yeah, some of it is a matter of how the programming is varied from week to week to prevent somebody from missing. If they do miss the same day of the week every week, that particular movement doesn't get repeated. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. It kind of depends. But that's definitely something that you want to try to smooth out in your schedule as well, so there isn't a critical skill that you just don't get enough practice with.
Yeah. And there's the other thing too, what I was going to say, in terms of the actual workload, like you just mentioned before, someone does 60 versus 80, say I go in and do 80, a lot of the times I don't feel the effect in terms of like being sore until like a day later. So I technically speaking, I can get up the following Tuesday after the previous Monday morning's workout and feel fine. But then like come noon, all of a sudden I'm starting to feel Monday's workout.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, well, maybe kind of a good thing I didn't do this morning's workout. So there's still that. So I'm still curious as to whether or not that should have a factor in my decision to do more or less. Or
yeah, second day soreness is always worse. Always worse.
I just feel like, well, maybe I should just do it 3 or 4 consecutive days and see what happens. That's some of the times. So I think maybe I should try, or if I throw an extra day in, that kind of thing. I don't know. It's more or less a kind of trial and error, I guess, at this point. But.
It is, and you have to have the discipline to hold yourself back on those days when you know that treat it as active recovery if you wind up doing an extra workout, and so you deliberately lighten the load just to get the movement in and get the full range of motion. But don't push yourself to the same degree, or make the focus on the cardio rather than the weight, and because alternating between strength and metabolic conditioning. Because
from day to day, the workouts can be really intense on Monday, but really lax on Tuesday, and vice versa. Because I've heard people say, "Oh, yesterday's workout was just brutal." I'm like, "Well, I didn't go yesterday's. I went to Mondays, and it wasn't that bad." So, and then Wednesday comes along, and it's okay again. So, am I missing out? I'm like, sort of glad that I didn't go Tuesday.
Well, and one person's very tough workout is another person's easy workout too. So it all depends on.
We've all got our strengths.
It really depends. It really does depend too, because sometimes, they're all like really hard.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be hard, is what I keep telling myself.
Yeah.
They're not
CrossFit
hard. I'm not growing.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you each finished 18.5, knowing that it was the last open of the last workout of the open, what went through your mind as you were finishing the workout beyond, oh crap, the 7 minutes is finally over?
I was a little bit relieved that I was able to complete the open, and I was definitely glad that I decided to sign up, because there was that reservation of whether or not I could do any of this stuff, because even though there was technically speaking a scaled version, I didn't know what that scale would be, and nobody would until the announcement.
No, and it changes year to year too. So, like last year, pull-ups were not a minimum standard for scaled. Like jumping pull-ups were the minimum standard for that particular movement.
But literally, as soon as 18.5 was over and I recovered, I was thinking, now I can't wait for Murph.
It's good. The competitive juices get all fired up, and then you start looking at the calendar going, all right, what's next?
Yeah, exactly. I was sad it was over because I really enjoyed the open. I'm really glad I signed up.
It's an exciting period, for sure.
And I think I was so excited I hit my goal with 18.5 that I wasn't even really focused on the open is over. But it was kind of bittersweet because I wanted to get into the set of 18, and I made it 11 thrusters, I think, into the 18. So I was beyond happy with myself. But I was kind of sad it was over. I mean, it's kind of stressful. You get that nervousness, you're excited the workout's open, and then you spend days stressing about it till you actually do it. But the sense of accomplishment, I think for me, and the validation that I'm on the right track, I'm making progress. I made it through these workouts that 6 months ago, there's no way I could have made it through any of them, much less all 5.
Right.
Well, with the exception of 18.3.
18.3.
But I mean, it would have, even the skipping, it was 100 single unders. I probably would have taken 10 minutes to do 100 single unders.
Yeah.
So, because for me, it's like 5 seconds in, I couldn't breathe. So, I mean, just the fact that I made it through 200 single unders.
Yeah.
And
it was a huge deal.
I can see that too, because I was proud of myself when I did the single unders, because I literally did 100 unbroken.
I was going to say, you did 100.
Like, that was awesome. And it was funny because when I went to the personal training, the trainer was like, so when's the last time you did skipping? And I'm like, grade 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, I did not actually skip since then, and I was blown away by the fact that I was able to do several, even 50 unbroken. And then when the actual open came, I think that the best I had was 60 unbroken, I think. And then I managed to do all 100.
Yeah, because it pushes you, because for me, because I knew that 220 was going to be my score, so I wanted to try and get a decent time because that was the tiebreaker.
Right.
So I was pushing myself. I didn't do as well as I had hoped, but again, skipping is still a skill I'm working on. But I was like super proud. And I think it taught me too, and I think it's kind of shown up. It probably shows up every open, but this is my first. But work on your weaknesses. So a lot of people were upset they couldn't do that. Ring muscle ups were first. Well, why haven't you been working on them the whole year?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's work on those strengths and actively work on those strengths, not just say, well, I'd like to do pull-ups, but never actually work towards a pull-up.
Yeah.
So I think it taught me that too. Like, just really push for what I need to do, you know, to further myself. Don't get comfortable. Don't say, well, I can do this good, so I'm just going to keep doing this.
It definitely gives you some things to shoot for.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Because you can set goals. And like I said, I want to redo 18.3. We'll see if it happens, but...
And it's funny because it's only a small cross-section of skills that we use every day in CrossFit classes. They're skills that are sort of seen as being the prototypical skills for CrossFit. I mean, pull-ups and any of the barbell movements are considered to be core movements in CrossFit. But there's several other things that came up that, you know, people weren't necessarily prepared for, or something like handstand push-ups when the standard changes. Yeah. It's not that anybody got taller or shorter. It's that, you know, the expectation of having a straight back while against the wall was made that much more critical to the movement because of the movement standard. Yeah. And so those are all things that now we go for the rest of the year going, all right, well, we should be really being very strict on that and making sure that we don't have a U-shaped back when we're doing a handstand push-up, because extension of our arms isn't the only priority.
And praying it doesn't change next year.
That's for sure. So what would you, if somebody was asking you, okay, so let's say somebody at work or another colleague over the next little while, now that you've been through the open and so you've been able to see both the competitive aspect, and it's more the personal competition than anything, mixed with your everyday class schedule and what it's meant to your lifestyle and how it's changed the way that you have that you're looking at the way that things are going for you in your life. How would all of that over the last 6 to 9 months inform what you would tell someone about, you know, why should they take fitness seriously? Whether they do CrossFit or not is a whole separate argument to make with them. But I mean, there's reasons that you like CrossFit. How would you describe CrossFit in a way that would convince someone that is something that would be worth trying, as opposed to the traditional, low impact, low yield, low result kind of approach? I mean, it takes a very disciplined person to walk into, one of these Globo gyms and come up with their own programming. Or they have to have deep pockets to get someone else to do the programming for them in that environment, in which case maybe they should more seriously be looking at the group environment. And one-on-one personal training in that environment isn't going to get them the camaraderie that they get
it's not the
in
same
the CrossFit environment.
No. For me, I think it would just be explaining honestly what it's done for me. So like running on a treadmill, that's great. Most people go to these big gyms and they have no idea what they're doing. So they run on a treadmill or a stair machine or an elliptical. And like your cardio strength might be great. Maybe you could run a marathon, but how strong is your body? And for me, that's the biggest thing, is my body is stronger. So I can, especially like I said, healthcare, I'm rolling people, I'm helping people up. It's a very physical job for me.
Right.
I'm not as tired at the end of 12 hours as I used to be. I'm not, like, it's translated into my life in ways that I never even thought about. I can take the stairs at work and I'm not huffing and puffing. I can, have the stamina to do my housework and not have a nap. And like, it's just, and the mental aspect, I think is the biggest for me. The confidence it gives you. I think just, the endorphins and everything it releases, I think are good for your brain health. I just think, I don't even know how to put it into words really. Like, it's just, like, it's had such a positive impact on everything. It keeps me motivated to eat healthy. It keeps me just motivated. Like, it's, my head feels better. My mental health feels 1,000 times better than it did. And that's what I try to explain to people. It's not just about looking a certain way. It's how you feel. Can you get out of bed every morning? Are you happy? Are you, all these things in life that you don't realize how unhappy and unhealthy you are until you get to the other side. And you realize, I could barely walk and hold a conversation. I could barely get through a 12-hour shift. My feet would be like so sore by the end of the day. Yeah. My back hurt. I had constant headaches. Like, just all those ways that it's changed my life. And I mean, I don't even know how to. I mean, people probably think I'm crazy. Like, because I try to explain it to people. I said, if you realized how much better you felt after doing it, yes, you're sore, but it just gives you so much confidence, and you're physically stronger, you're mentally stronger. Like, it's just, it translates, I think, into all aspects of your life.
You in particular have been very candid in your Facebook posts about the progress that you've made and how you feel about the community and the value that you think you get out of it.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons I very quickly identified that I wanted to have you on the podcast.
I think it literally saved my life. I think at one point I would have been diabetic. I would have, had all those health issues that being obese brings. I was lucky that I'm not, but I don't think it was far down the road. And working in healthcare, I've seen people with amputations. I've seen people who have literally died.
The consequences better than most.
Right. So that was partially what was motivating to make the changes too. I don't want to end up in a hospital bed because I couldn't stop eating 3 chocolate bars a day. Yeah. I wanted to have control over what I put into my body and not let food control me. So CrossFit, I think, like I said, it's motivating. One kind of motivates the other. So yeah, I don't know. If that answered your question.
What about you, Gareth? I mean, you've already said that there are people at work that comment on, you're fitter and it's definitely changing the way that you're perceived in your work environment. Presumably, you've got friends that are commenting
my wife talked about this. We both talked about this a while back. How she finds it hard to get people to take CrossFit as an option seriously, just because most of the people she talks to, for example, when she goes to her volleyball, they kind of look at her and go, "Well, you're tall, you're strong. You that's why CrossFit works for you."
They think it's not for them.
Yeah, exactly. And when I'm at work and they see, where I've come from and how far I've gone, like they think, "Oh yeah, I can probably do that."
Yeah.
Right. But I still get the occasional, I'm not fit enough for CrossFit. I'm like, really?
I say if I can do it, anybody can do it. Yeah, I get a lot of that too. People say, well, you did it, but I could never do that. Yeah, you could. Like, there was an athlete I saw, I think it was on the CrossFit Facebook page. She had one arm. There's people who have cerebral palsy. There's people who have spinal cord injuries. There's people who are blind.
Yeah.
CrossFit is literally for everybody. There is an adaptation that will work for 99% of the population. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, and I have a hard time. People are like, well, I'll just go and pay my $10, $15, $20 a pay, and I'll just go to this gym that I'll actually never go to, but I'll keep paying for it. But they don't realize the value.
It's more like a tax that way.
Yeah, like they don't realize the value that you get with CrossFit. They say, well, it's expensive. But it's like a personal trainer every class.
Yeah, it's like there's a process of educating them and cluing them in on how to see the value translated into what they get out of it.
Yeah.
It's because if you start with the dollar figure, it does sometimes put people off because it is at least twice as much as a conventional gym, and it's 6 or 7 times as much as one of these really incredibly cheap do-it-yourself kind of environments. But like everything, you do get what you pay for, and so in an environment where you get more. Not explicitly one-on-one, although there's a hell of a lot of one-on-one that goes on in a CrossFit class, but most CrossFit gyms have a cap on the number of people in a class to keep the ratio of athlete to coach very low. And the reason for that is principally safety, but it's also a matter of delivering value as well. so that every athlete feels like they're really looked after and that their needs are being monitored and their movements are safe and they're getting the cues to make improvements and these are all things that factor into it for sure.
And the programming.
And the programming is a huge part of that. And you've got equipment and a class environment, a class atmosphere that is kind of hard to duplicate under other circumstances. So that's certainly what kept me around. I mean, I too came in through a Groupon initially. Okay. As soon as my membership converted into a regular membership, I questioned whether or not I would get the value of it. But before I was done the Groupon, I knew I was hooked and I wasn't going anywhere. Mm-hmm. The value was pretty clear. But there is an education process there for sure.
Plus people, like you say, like Amanda said earlier, like they don't know what it is they're missing in terms of their fitness until they're being given it, because a lot of people who haven't done fitness for a while have just gotten so used to whatever condition they're currently in, they don't realize that once they've done CrossFit for a few months, they got this extra energy, they had this mostly mobility, especially for me, just being able to move around and not have it feel like it's killing me.
Yeah.
So people probably don't even notice it because they just got so used to it. But if they were to try it and get past that point, I'm sure they would see the benefit as well. That's the hardest part, is getting them to see the benefit.
Yeah. And it's, at least from the physical standpoint, it's harder to incorporate into your life and change your lifestyle later than it is earlier, too. I mean, this is the sort of thing where I'd love to have found this 10 years before I did. Luck of the draw, I didn't find it until after I turned 40. But that's just the way that it goes. And if I could get more people to find it earlier, then I would. I mean, maybe if I can get this podcast out to a greater audience, I'll be able to help bring some more people in. But I think that's a big thing. Is people have those reservations. If you're able to say, well, look, here's all the benefits that I know for sure I'm getting out of it, that I know for sure I wouldn't get out of that.
Exactly.
And,
you go to, a Globo gym, nobody cares if you're doing the exercises properly. I mean, you see the videos all over Facebook and Instagram and everything of people doing exercises completely wrong, dangerous sometimes. And everybody's just videoing and laughing, and you don't see anybody walk over and say, hey, maybe you should do, nobody cares.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say nobody, because I'm sure there's people who've had help in gyms, but, that's the general idea. But in CrossFit, the value to me, I would pay twice as much, because to me, it's not about the dollar figure. I will find a way to pay for it, because it's just, you get so much more, I think, than for what you pay for, number one. I think that it's almost undervalued for what you actually get. But I think the support, the programming, the very low rate, for our gym, it's only 12 per class. You've got somebody saying, hey, you're doing that wrong. Do it this way. You've got that constant coaching to say you're on the right track or you're not on the right track. Here's what you need to do. Yeah. You've got that constant reinforcement to keep you on the right track that you don't get at a regular gym. To me, and just the support. I said, to walk into any class and feel supported and welcomed and not judged is well worth what we pay. I think the value for what you get is amazing. Yeah.
There was another incident that wasn't that long ago, and that was had to bail out of a particular movement, because there was somebody that was in our 6 a.m. class, and he couldn't bail properly, and he would have hurt himself big time if he wasn't lucky enough to actually finally drop the barbell. But yeah, it was good to see that and we saw that there were coaches just took initiative and decided to incorporate that into the movement to make sure everybody understood not only how to do it properly, but what happens when you have to bail out of the movement.
Yeah.
The safest way to do that, which I thought was really good.
Yeah. The coaches actually care. They don't just show up, watch you do your movements and walk out the door. They actually care. They're just as excited as you are when you get a new movement or they see the progress. It's well worth its value. I really wish I could make people see, because a lot of people say, well, how much is it? That's the first thing that crosses their mind. Yeah. How much does it cost? It's not about the cost. It's what are you gaining? like I said, physically, mentally, all aspects of my life, it's well worth what I pay a month.
Yeah.
You know, I think I wish more people could see that.
So are you both looking forward to the Open next year? Now that
Actually,
you've been through
I want to know how much better well, I know we can't do a 1-for-1 comparison because, again, each event in the next Open is going to be different, but there's nothing to stop us from trying.
You'll have a good sense of what your progress is, even if you don't repeat exactly the same workout. Yeah.
I'd like to say, even being able to do at least one workout RX would be kind of nice.
Yeah, that's my goal, to hopefully get at least one RX. But we'll see. We'll see.
Awesome. Do you have any expectations for what might be different next year? I mean, is based on what your experience was this year, is there one thing that you anticipate being completely out of left field, or are you just waiting to see what gets thrown at you?
I'm waiting to see what gets thrown at me, but I know when we had to do burpees in this Open, I felt like I should have been trying harder during my classes to do the burpees because I was scaling them back and doing what they call sprawls.
Oh, yeah.
To do that, and I felt like I should have pushed myself harder to do the burpees because once the Open came and I should have been a little more prepared, I don't think I wasn't.
Yeah.
So coming into the
next
and
now
Open,
you know you have them in tank too. So.
So going into the next Open, I'm thinking I'm going to have to make sure I push myself harder on the movements that I know that I'm kind of lax at in order to make them better, and also ones that I can't do yet. I really have to kind of step up that.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like there's things like that I've just not necessarily avoiding, but things that I really don't like rowing. I'm not particularly good at it. So that's something I know I should be working on because I'm not good at it.
That was actually what I was going to ask for a wrap-up question is, what is the one movement that you still find incredibly challenging that you think you're going to be that much better at by next year?
For me, I think, and it's only because they're sloppy, it's not because I can't do them, is wall balls. So I'm not terrible at wall balls. My problem is as soon as I start getting tired, I don't hit the wall, I don't hit the mark, I don't. So that was the one movement I was so thankful didn't show up this year because I can... Like, they're very taxing physically.
Yeah.
But I was actually happy to see thrusters over wall balls because my wall balls get sloppy. And so I know that's something I really, instead of trying to get them done and quickly, work on my technique when they show up in class.
Yeah.
Because that is something that I just am not good at. But everything else is just working at it, not shying away from what I'm not good at because I'm not good at it. I think if you're not good at something, that's a reason to do it more, not do it less.
For sure.
But it's that whole mental game, you know, because you think, well, I'm not good at it, so why would I do it?
Yeah.
But that's why you need to do it.
Well, for me, it's snatches, but not because I don't like them per se. It's just that because of my tendonitis in my arm, they really hurt to do them. So, because before this, I used to love snatches. So now when I see a snatch, I'm like, But one of the other movements that I would really like to improve is the squat clean, being able to do the higher weight, but also the movement such that kind of get your arms around the bar faster.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I don't get into the squat fast enough, and I can't get my arms to snap around that bar as quickly as I need to.
And you've got a really strong back squat and front squat, so once you get the bar to your shoulders, you're good.
Yeah, I just PR'd my power clean, but I don't have to do that squat actually.
Right.
At 185, but my regular clean, my squat clean is like 135 still.
Right.
So just trying to get used to that. It's
that
all
number will
about
climb
speed
for
and
sure.
movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other things like burpees and wall balls. But
Yeah, I need to work
All
on
the
my upper
movements.
body.
every movement there is, just start listing them off.
Yeah, I need to work on the upper body strength for next year. My legs are super strong. My arms are not. So that is something I need to work on.
Yeah,
There's definitely always stuff.
Is like my legs have gotten stronger the most of all. From me.
Yeah,
but
same here.
Because I have no problem doing deadlifts, no problem doing the back squats there now, but I feel like there's still a lot of upper body strength that I need to get. Even the as a push press, I think it is. Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel that way though too, because it's just it's the foundation does tend to bear the brunt of the majority of the movements that we do, no matter what they are. So that gets stronger first.
Yeah.
Takes a little while unless you start hanging from the rig on a regular basis like a monkey. There's only so much upper body that you're really going to do because you're always standing on your legs.
Yeah, there's more. I feel there's more leg days than arm days at the gym. It's like we're the opposite of everybody else. You see all these these bodybuilders, they get these great big arms, these little chicken legs. I find CrossFit's like the opposite. You get these big strong legs, and the arms need to catch up. Well, for me anyway.
Thank you both for being willing to come in and talk shop. It's pretty easy to get people to come in and talk about CrossFit. It's a different thing to come in and talk about the struggles that they had before CrossFit. And I mean, fortunately, when you've been able to turn things around and you credit not just CrossFit, but the changes in your lifestyle and the changes in your nutrition that you've made, and how that all works together to make your life in and out of the gym better, then it's easier to talk about those things, because you're able to talk about what's gotten you to where you are now and where you're headed in the future. But it's still, it's one of those things where I wonder just how comfortable people will be in talking about that. Fortunately, I know you both fairly well, and I've talked to you about these things at the gym and on Facebook, and so I knew you'd be comfortable sharing.
Let's say for me, like when I went to the Fit for Less, I was always trying to figure out how I was going to schedule my exercise into my day. Once I started CrossFit, I figured out how I was going to schedule my day around CrossFit.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, the class is this time. I have this stuff to do.
So I can shift my other thing later on that day so I can get the class in.
Exactly.
That was the biggest difference I've seen when it comes to CrossFit and a regular gym.
Right.
Or any exercise for that matter, not just regular gym. I mean, if you're a runner or something, you'll run after when you get time. Right. But in this particular case, it's, I got to get the class in at that particular moment so I can schedule the rest of my stuff around it. I can delete that till later.
Yeah, because the class times are set. It's not.
Yeah.
Which I like. I like showing up, somebody telling me what to do, and then I go home. If it was self-directed,
feel accomplished. And then when I go to work after our CrossFit class, I'm a little bit tired, but I'm kind of like that relaxed tired to the point where I'm not stressed out. I'm not really bothered. So when people come to me with like their problems and they're stressed out with something at work, it doesn't stress me out the same.
Yeah,
it's a good stress relief.
The day I go there and I didn't have CrossFit that morning, when someone else is stressed out, I'll get stressed out.
Yeah, you feel the difference, do you?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you both.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
And that is time on this latest episode of the Box Jumper Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll subscribe so that you get future episodes automatically, as I'm joined by other guests to talk about their stories from the fitness community. If you like the episode, I'd love for you to write a 5-star review on iTunes. I'll actually be sharing some of the reviews in future episodes as they start to come in. Of course, you can email me feedback or ideas at info@boxjumper.ca, and visit boxjumper.ca often for more fitness-related stuff outside the podcast. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook with the handle @boxjumper40, with 40 being the digits. Thanks for listening. More interesting fitness interviews to come. Until then, WOD happy and WOD often.